everybody. It's Sunday night. Of course, the APAT show. Leigh, it's been a while. Feels like it's been a while, right?
It has. There's been a heck of a lot going on in the world, and we decided the best thing to do was to take a couple of weeks break while all that was going on and everybody was focused elsewhere. But we're back. And most importantly, sound the klaxon, Des, because we've got a guest on a final table. We really don't want to be holding
Whoa,
back
let's
here.
go for it.
Good evening to Natalie Bromley. How are you doing, lovely?
I'm very well, thank you, gentlemen. How are you?
Very good. But Des, she's all in on the final table.
How the hell?
Surely we can't do this. The APAT show. Surely. Oh no, we're good. We got it.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Did we get it through? We got it through.
We got it through. So Natalie is on the final table of the No Limit Hold'em main event tonight. One of the final four of the week. Was chip leader for a long time. Got onto the final table. Just had a couple of nasty hands. Then just as we were about to go live, you ran into jacks and kings, and the kings ended up turning quad kings, didn't they? So you lost a few.
Yeah,
there.
I mean that's pretty polite. It's a bit polite, is it? I think you misspelt, got bored, and played hands you shouldn't have been playing on.
No, I was being nice. Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, that's what happened. So okay, it was ace 3 you played. All right, let's be honest with it. But you're six-handed. You're in the money now. You're still fourth in chips. You've got you're playing nearly 20 big. So still plenty of play.
Yeah.
No rush, but of course we're going to get to follow this down to its conclusion. So it's poker, Des. What's that all about? Hey,
poker. It's been a while, Leigh. I mean, even at the best of times, we don't tend to talk about poker. We might talk a little bit about poker tonight. I know there's a bunch of people out there who've joined us, which is lovely, great. What are they playing tonight, Leigh?
Well, with the new way we got this structure going, my usual thing is we get live at 10 o'clock, and I am pretty much letting you know how long you've got left if you want to get into the APAT show Turbo Knockout that started at 9 o'clock. You have 4 minutes and 35 seconds if you want to get into that. Join the other 60 people that are already in that. So there's a $500 guarantee. Well, the prize pool's already 600. So well worth jumping in if you want to get in that. We'll follow that to the conclusion. There is one Natalie Bromley who's currently second in chips in that tournament as well. So not only is she guesting tonight and got a hell of a lot for us to talk about, she's also multi-tabling, not just that, multi-tabling high up in these tournaments. So
love it.
Let me just check she's not in the PLO as well for good measure.
No, I'm definitely not in the PLO. I'm not very good at PLO.
Listen, Leigh, I don't share too many secrets on the APAT show, as you know, but I woke up with Natalie this morning. I just thought I'd share that. Now, she was, we were joined by Dara Kearney and David Lappin. But when I woke up this morning,
can't have been room left in the bed.
I'll tell you what, it was a bit of a tight squeeze, I have to say. When I woke up this morning, I was on the Facebook early as you just to see what's happening in the world. And there was a link to the latest episode of the chip race. And of course, we all love the chip race with David Lappin, Dara Kearney. Natalie was on that. I thought a storming 10, 12-minute piece, Natalie, I have to say, on Hearts of Queens.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I mean, those two are lovely guys, and they've always been super supportive of stuff that I want to do. And Dave contacted me a few weeks ago and just said that he was super excited about what we were doing with Hearts of Queens, and they just very kindly offered their platform and said, just come on the show. I want to talk about it. And there's so many of the chip race listeners who will never have heard of Hearts of Queens, will have no idea what it is I'm trying to do, what we've been putting together. So it was a really nice little 10-minute intro into, hi, here we are, this is what we're doing. And it was kind of nerve-wracking, to be honest. It was a big deal. I was laughing with Des before he came on air, saying you can tell when you listen to it that I was really nervous because I talk about 4,000 miles an hour and I just won't shut up because I'm just I'm like.
Des, I don't know whether you said Des went on it a while ago. They spent an entire week in the editing suite trying to cut down. Apparently, he didn't shut up.
It was very robotic. I called David up when I heard the thing, and I said, David, look, I'm really sorry. What did I do? Did I talk for like 40 minutes or something? It was like jump. But I tell you what, the guys are so good. And if you haven't listened to the chip race, go and listen to it, because not only do you have crikey, the likes of Natalie and myself are not big names in the poker world. So these guys give us a platform too. But, Flushy was on there. James Dempsey was on the same episode as you this morning. I thought it was fantastic. It was just a great 10-minute piece with him as well. So it's a pretty tightly...
All in a call, Des. All in a call.
Here we go.
Oh,
What is it with these
again?
Kings? What the
Oh,
hell?
no. And that's going to be the end of you, Natalie.
Oh,
Kings
no.
again on this final table.
No!
At least it was Ace Jack this time. I mean, it was a little bit more,
Ace
a little
Jack
bit more
against
about
Kings.
it. But unfortunately, that pesky Phil Huxley has done for you, who's the chip leader. So,
taking the chips.
yeah, Natalie going to depart in that in sixth place, picks up just under $90 for your trouble. But I had high hopes for a top 3 finish there, but not to be on that one tonight.
I'll win the turbo instead. We're still in that.
Just another cash, though, Leigh. Seldom a week goes by without a Natalie cash. She's got to be one of the most consistent players around at the moment.
It does seem quite a regular thing. So, you talk about consistency. What I should do really is just run by, because just to give a little shout out for the last couple of weeks for where people have been with leaderboard ladders. So
yes,
let's just roll back. Let's roll back a fortnight to week 72, and it was the young whippersnapper Richard Rudling Smith who topped the table, beat Tony Ross in that one. Now Richard was only a step 1 back then. So he picked up the triple tickets for that one. So we move on to week 73. And as Simon Lawler called it in the chat last week, Des, on Facebook, when I posted this one up, cheap week for Des and Leigh. Yeah, it was all step 1s and 2s in the top 20. But however, top of the table was one Richard Rudling Smith again.
Nice.
Back to back.
Nice.
So he moved from step 1 up to step 3, and he's now on step 3 this week. So this is now we have a bit of sweat on here, Des, because we're thinking, well, he's never going to do 3 weeks in a row, is he? I mean, he's not. We're going to be safe, aren't we? He's not going to do 3 weeks in a row.
How's it going?
Unfortunately, he's comfortably top of the leaderboard going into today's event.
Sweet
He's had six cashes this week. Richard had. He is 100 points ahead of the next place player, which is Dylan Herbert. I'm pretty much. I'm calling it early here. I think Richard could be doing what do they call it? A three-peat or whatever they call it.
Well, it's a hat trick of sorts. I mean, Leigh, you've got to give it to him.
It's pretty impressive, but yeah, it looks like at the moment he is going to end up doing 3 weeks on the banks, which is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Top bombing, sir, and a great player. So why should we be surprised? He is maybe taking a little bit of the shine away from one Tony Ross, who is out there among many others watching us tonight. So Tony says, good evening, all evening to you, Tony, sir.
I should say, with everything that's going on in the world, I mean, there's been a lot of bad stuff, to get people down or whatever. I mean, one of the biggest things for me was Tony lost his step 5 status last week.
It's not all bad then.
Yeah.
It's not all badly.
So he's step 4 at the moment. I don't know. I mean, he's trying to work out how everybody else lives and gets by.
I tell you what, it's like England in the Nations League. Leigh, he's going to have to learn
very much
to live, to slum it with the locals, as it were. But listen, Tony isn't the only one out there. We've got a bunch of you there. So tonight, Leigh, wait for this, right? We're gonna talk through who is there, but we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on the APAT website. I mean, we're like COVID on people, right? We're everywhere, Leigh, everywhere. Oh, that didn't get a reaction at all. We want to bypass those days.
I've got a feeling you possibly might break the internet with all of this, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
As long as just promise me you won't play any videos that you haven't got licenses for. All right, that's all I'm asking.
There's so much stuff I've got here, though. Right, I've got the next episode of House of Dragons. Right, it hasn't been put out yet. I've got it. It's just sat there. I can play.
Don't play.
I believe I can play 45 seconds without being taken down. Shall I go for 40? No. Okay.
Don't risk
all right.
No.
Well, listen. Let's see who we do have out there.
You've got the next James Bond film, and you're going to tell us who it's going to be. Yeah, is that the next one? Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably. No, I'm not going to say that. Listen. Casey Swift is out there. Casey, when are we going to get Casey Swift on the APAT show, Leigh?
we are long overdue getting
Come
Katie
on.
Swift on the APAT
Come on.
show. Yeah,
She's sat through a few of them now. I think we need to get her on. So good luck, Natalie. Go, go, go. One Mr. Lawler is out there. Evening. Good to see a poker site working. So I think Stars are having a bunch of problems this evening.
I was going to say we will mention it at some point, but it's it's not just that they've cancelled the lot in the end. Des, I don't know whether you picked up on the latest news. Natalie,
so they have
dropped
they?
me a message to let me know. Yeah, all the W coops for the night have been cancelled. I think Natalie said at one point when the servers went down with about 6 million overlaid, but obviously there was a lot of late reg still to go.
Yeah,
so
it was never going to be there, but all of them, the entire main event series was all at a big overlay.
So do we know yet what they're doing? What they're doing with the money?
They believe they're going to reschedule, but they are paying out as per their standard terms when these sorts of things happen. So you
have to give them credit. Which means I suggest that means they are going to pay out with whatever the overlays were then. Yeah. I mean, they tend to do that where others have not done that in the past. Simon Lawler is coming back on your exit. Show curse, he calls it. Natalie is, of course,
honestly,
quite right.
Every single time.
Quite right. Listen, a blast from the past here, Leigh. You will enjoy this. Hi all. This is, of course, from Steve 40. Steve's back. Is Klopp looking for a new job?
Steve's not just back. Steve is back with a profile pic.
So he has double top. Yes,
he tried to post in the group earlier on, and we had a little bit of a spamming phase about a month ago, and I had to switch on a couple of new controls in the group, and one of them is that you can't post if you've not got a profile pic. So he was wondering why he was getting blocked. He tried to put up a comment about Natalie being on the show, about how much he was looking forward to it, and he said it's being declined. It's being declined. Why is it being declined? And I looked and I realized, I said, well, you haven't got a profile pic. I said, just load something up. So he's loaded double top up.
Yeah.
So
double top was his nickname back in the day, Leigh. I remember that back in the Poker Night Live days. We're going back about 12 years there, maybe even longer. So good to see Steve back. He's obviously popping. He's popping at Klopp straight away. Maybe Wrexham FC working for Ryan Reynolds. He thinks that's maybe Klopp's next stop. Loving the Wrexham FC show on Netflix. Haven't seen it yet, which is a bit shameful. Do intend to, but haven't got along to see that yet. Has anybody seen a bit of that?
I thought it was on something that I haven't got.
Prime. Is it on Prime or
Disney? I think it's Disney.
Disney Plus, I think.
Yeah, it's one I've not got. So yeah.
Well, we're going to see it.
Whoa, there's a TV subscription channel you don't have, Leigh Wilshire. What is this nonsense?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely.
You've got it all. It's all happening in the commentary box. Guys are out there in the comments land. Simon says keeps freezing here. Anyone else having issues?
Lord.
Well, that'll be the price of fuel and stuff and electricity. You want to turn your heaters on there, Simon. Get those heaters on. Meanwhile, Mr. Wigglesworth is out there and he would like some dry toast, please. You have come to the right place, sir. Can I tell you? You have come to the right place.
We buried that a long time ago.
Peter, don't forget a bit of Wiggle news. He's off to Vegas this week. So
nice.
Yeah, I've seen his schedule, and there's a lot going on in Vegas at the moment, poker wise. And he's promised me, because I had a call with him last week. He's going to do a call into the show next week from Vegas. So it could be from, I don't know, some hot tub somewhere and some pool party. Who knows? Because I saw Helmuth was at some pool party today playing poker. Some club, some day club thing going on. Day club, what's that all about? But yeah, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but not really got a clue. But yeah, so we're gonna have a bit of Wiggle Vision, hopefully live on the show next week from Vegas.
Fantastic. That we've got to like. One very cool Irishman has just checked in. Evening all.
Oh, Brendan.
One Mr. Byrne. We like Mr. Byrne, don't we?
Is he the coolest guy in the world? I think he might be.
He's pretty cool, I have to say.
He
is pretty cool. We like Brendan Byrne. I remember meeting, I want to say, 2006. I want to say the first Irish amateur event back in 2006 was when I met Brendan for the first time. He's been around for a long time.
Really?
Which is nice. One very nice guy, nice couple of nice family as well. Stephen is a good player as well, his son. Right, where are we going to go to, Leigh? Where are we going to go to?
Well, we're going to keep an eye on the obviously the main event of the No Limit Hold'ems. We're down to 4.
Yeah.
What I should just do is just give a quick shout out to where we are for the other events that we've got going on tonight. So the deep stack has concluded. Actually, it only finished about sort of 5 minutes ago because we've moved it an hour now, so it doesn't start till 6 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock. So that was a win for Ireland. Funnily enough, Vitatus.
Yes,
Roots.
nice.
Well done to them.
Vitatus.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I don't think I've crucified. I'm pretty pleased with that pronunciation.
It's a good effort.
Actually.
Sounds like a good effort.
Yeah. Patrick Kutieri from Czech Republic in second, and Klaus can't see his surname because it's on the screen. From Germany in third, so well done to you guys. Brian Frew finished in fourth, so well done to you, Brian, as well. As I say, 4 left in the No Limit Hold'em, that paying top 8, so we'll keep an eye on this. Nice $509 up top for that one. Sorry, Natalie, I'm sure you don't want to know that, but I mentioned it anyway in passing. The PLO, well, we're down to 9. It's paying top 6. Actually, 34 runners in that tonight, so it's an $800 guarantee, and we've got over $1,000 in that prize pool, so nearly 400 up top for that. Phil Huxley, who was the annoying person that had the Kings against Natalie's Ace Jack earlier on, is chip leader in that. And there's one Dan Austin who's second in chips in that one. Brendan is currently 4th in chips in that, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. Nice. And as I say, the turbo, well, that's closed off a registration now. We've ended up with 68 runners in that, so we're paying top 11 in that one. Natalie is still second in chips in that one, with Dan Lowe, who's 3rd in chips at the moment in there as well. So lots of names I recognise in that one. Simon Appleby's there as well. Dan Austin's in that one as well. Tony Ross is there. Phil Huxley's in that one as well. He's got 14th at the moment of the 31 remaining. So we'll keep an eye. Do you know what? I say Richard Rudling-Smith has got this one this week, but Phil Huxley is second in the No Limit Hold'em with 4 left. He's chip leader in the PLO with 9 left, and he's 14th in the Turbo with 31 left.
Wow.
He might make a run for this.
Where's he in the table, Leigh? Does he have points on the board already?
I don't know whether he's had any. I don't think he has.
He's having a bit of a run tonight, isn't he?
But he certainly is having a bit of a run tonight, and potentially might, could do some damage.
Well, okay, one to keep an eye out for. Guys, there's a ton of stuff to discuss, right? There's a ton of stuff to discuss since we were last on air. But I want to start here. So Simon made the response, can't turn the heating on. It isn't November yet. And I've got to tell you, the heating just went on in this house this evening. Right? I've been calling for it for weeks now. But it just went on this evening because of this stream. Right, the house has not had heating on. There was nothing I could do to get the heating on. Right, I wasn't allowed. Pretty tough times at the moment, is it not? I mean, I'm not sure if everybody's in exactly the same scenario that I'm in terms of turning on the heating, but it's like the country seems to have gone to rack and ruin a little bit in recent weeks, months.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, I've had a proper up and down couple of weeks, to be honest. Obviously Liz Truss became the new Prime Minister, and I was absolutely quids in. Thank you very much, Sky Bet. I'm huge profit. So I thought I would invest that in sterling and gilts. I thought that's a safe place to put it. What could possibly go wrong there? And,
that'll be the mini budget went wrong, right?
And it would appear that my investment may have backfired, and I may have already lost my my Liz Truss profit in a mini budget this week. So but seriously, it's financially it's worrying times for people, isn't it? It really is.
That's pretty bad. What have you made of it all, Natalie?
It's something that we've all seen coming for a really long time, but it just doesn't seem to have made it any less painful when it has actually arrived. We've just had a continual stream of things going against us for the past God knows how many years now. We've had the Brexit debacle. That I could dedicate an entire show just to the absolute nonsense that is, and what that has done for the country. But we've got blue passports, so hey, hooray.
Whilst we're on the passports, I got my new one the other day.
Yeah, I've
right.
got mine.
They are flimsy, and they're bent. They're bowed.
Oh no, mine's not that. Mine's quite substantial.
Mine's horrible. I don't know. I've just got sent a cheap one. It's
who printed your one, Leigh?
Oh, well, who knows? Exactly. That's what I just went online and just got, so eBay. Yeah,
40 quid.
that's
all
what
in,
you're doing. Yeah, I wasn't
Close the picture.
I wasn't going to pay 77 odd quid for a new passport. That's just ridiculous. I mean, who does
I think
that?
we're getting down to it here. We're getting down to it here. But yeah,
So what country have you gone for?
Yeah. What flag are we now getting on against you, namely? It is.
Lovely.
But no, it is. They are quite depressing. The only slight thing that I quite like about passports is that I do like a stamp in a passport, and I did miss that when we had a European passport. So when I went to I went skiing in February, and I went via Switzerland, and I got a Swiss stamp in my passport, which was quite cool. But I'm clutching here massively at the but yeah, so we've had obviously we had that Brexit, and there's the absolute ridiculous scenario that the country's left in terms of trades deal negotiations and just everything else that's wrong with that. Then obviously we had the COVID problem. Then there's the war in Ukraine as well, and it's just everything's just transpired. Is that the word? That's not a word, is it?
That's
conspired.
A word. Transpired.
Conspired. I think I'm trying to say.
Right.
I don't know. Whatever I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Conspired against us.
That's right. But it's just to people who have got any decent understanding of how economies work and how countries keep themselves buoyant and allow growth. Saw this coming 5 or 6 years ago, but now it's here. It's still taking everybody by surprise, and I'm still feeling very uncomfortable with the shower of that we've got at home at the moment. It's quite worrying, very worrying times.
Bad times. So, guys, let us know what you think. What are you seeing? Has anybody been able to do anything, capping their bills, or what are we doing about this? It's a nasty situation. Now, of course, over the last 2 weeks,
I'll tell you a weird thing. So, a weird thing is had on the weekend our insurance renewal, insurance renewal came through.
Yeah,
and it's pretty much my annual phone call to our insurance provider to say, yes, what can we do about this? Let's get it back to something like it was last year, please.
This car, Leigh.
Yeah, which they do.
Home, I think I said.
Home, yeah. Which they normally do, and it's like, why am I having to have this conversation? But pretty much every year you have to have the conversation because they whack a bit on, and then sometimes you just don't bother doing anything about it. Got it through this year, 20% reduction compared to last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
20% less than it was last year.
Why is that?
Without you asking, that was their opening position.
That was their opening position.
Wow.
20% less than it was last year.
Did you go back and say, I'd like to pay a bit more this year?
Yeah.
Did you really get into their heads?
I just want it similar to what it was last year, please. I don't like change. Yeah.
Why is it cheap? It's too cheap. Yeah. What's going on? What have you taken out?
Well, I did check the policy and thought, hang on, there must be something missing here. There's, what's going on?
Taking something off.
But no, everything's everything's obviously we don't insure anything more than, and when I say insure, like most stuff I just go, well, Jen, you could get that on eBay if you needed to, couldn't you? Or we'll go down to the charity shop and get a replacement one of those. We don't need to be so I try and keep it as low as I can, it's obviously.
Listen, Leigh, as you talk, a few red box files are being opened out there in viewerland. Mr. Wigglesworth says the dollar exchange rate is $1.06 today, which is nuts. Which it is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it really.
I'll tell you what's crazy with that. Yeah, because I looked it up the other day because I was curious. So the first time I went to Vegas would have been now about 2015, I think it was.
It was.
Like that. Yeah, and
best trip ever.
And you got $1.50 something.
I know.
Then
proper value.
$1.50. That was now, if you're just spending, obviously it's not great. However, if you're going to Vegas and you're a winner, it's potentially good. Brilliant for you. But obviously you've got to win. But if you can win out there, all of a sudden when you're exchanging it back into sterling, it's incredibly good for you.
Absolutely. Simon is saying he remembers going to Vegas when it was $1.75 to a pound.
Wow.
Simon also said his insurance dropped by 40%. Surprising. So that's a similar story to what you were telling us, Leigh. Yeah. Steve says that he did in fact bet on Rishi Sunak. Should we be surprised? I think all new passports
Was he
are now
not?
printed
Was
in
he not
France.
listening to me? Was he not listening to me?
You told us,
I
Lee,
told you what was
several
gonna
weeks
happen.
earlier. You told
you
us
what was going to happen. Yeah.
absolutely. So he went on to say French passports would not be printed in the UK. Would America let their passports be printed in Canada? It's a fair call if they were printed in France. Brendan is with us. He says, great when you bring in some dollars home, as we just said.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Win a big event. And presumably there'll be some big events coming up in November. One would have assumed in the States.
Oh, there's loads. There's absolutely loads going on. Pete was sharing with me, and he was saying, and now so and so's have announced this, and this has been announced. I mean, there's too much out there, to be honest.
Listen.
And we've talked about it before about going out to Vegas in the fall, and actually how it feels like possibly a better time than around the World Series.
Could be. Well, James Dempsey was on that podcast, the Chip Race this morning, as we mentioned at the top of the show. He was telling this story about playing a World Series of Poker event, and he's got Chris Moorman on the rail, and Moorman is staking him in the event. And he said Moorman was staking like everybody back then. It was 2010. James actually went on to win this event, right? It was the WPT 5 Diamonds. And he said he looked back at, sorry, it was the event before that. So it was a couple of months before. But he said he looked at Moorman on the rail and there was like a $5,000 chip at his foot. And he said, Chris, I think you've dropped like a $5,000 chip there, and Chris's pockets are full of chips and stuff like that. But in any event, Flushy took over managing Moorman's stable money, right? It's worth listening to. It's an absolutely cracking story. But to try and align all of their money, Moorman asked Flushy to come out to Vegas in November. Flushy went out. They started aligning the money. Flushy decided, seeing as he was there, he would play his first World Poker Tour event, the 5 Diamonds, and he only went on and won the thing. So it was a brilliant little story, absolutely brilliant little story how it came along. Worth listening to for sure. Simon says Orleans got a mini festival. Mr. Wigglesworth, if you fancy mixed games. So that's something to look forward to. And Pete says, agree, my goal is to come back with more dollars than I take. Well, that would be a good trip indeed.
Yeah, that's the way you've got to try and do it if you can. That's for sure. And be well good. Obviously, you've got the fact that, say, things are going to be going up, and obviously, fuel prices for flights and all that sort of thing. It's more expensive to go out there and have a trip, but say if you can make it a profitable one, then it works back in your favor, which is and who knows where it's going to be. I don't know whether this is. I feel that the markets. I'm slightly surprised that it fell as quickly as it did, because none of this came as a surprise, and the markets have normally already built in for when they know this information is coming, and whether they've over egged it, I don't know. There's a lot of rumors that a lot of people have made quite a lot of money out of shorting the pound with what's gone on here, and knowing what was coming. It's all a bit murky, isn't it, really?
So you're a bright guy, Leigh. Is there an opportunity to get in now and buy the bounce back? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, I could sell you some pounds now, Des. I mean,
how much, Leigh? How much? I'll give you 50p a pound. 50p a pound.
Put a little bit of a markup on it, obviously, to cover my time and all that. But if you're interested, not a problem whatsoever.
I've got to try and pay the electricity that I'm using tonight, Leigh. It's going to be a shock to the system next week. This show
what you're saying is you need a lot more 50p's, is what you're saying, yeah? Is that
basically 50p's for the meter behind me, right? So it's all in the meter now.
Do you know I learned something the other day. That back in the day, and it may still be the case now, is electricity meters, when you were putting 50p in the meter, you would often have, when they then came in to collect the money for the meter, there would be a difference in what was, and you would get like a rebate back on how much you put in, because it always normally more than covered what the actual electricity bill was.
I didn't know that.
So you'd put your 50p. Yes, it wasn't like you didn't actually get 50p's worth of electricity. It was keeping the meter going, and then somebody would come and collect and do a proper calculation on it and go, well, actually, yes, you've put, I don't know, £100 in there, and actually your bill is only 80. Here's 20 quid back.
Wow.
And that's a genuine thing.
Never knew, my friend. Never knew.
Yeah.
Never knew. So we've touched on the mini budget, which, as you told me before the show, Leigh, wasn't actually a mini budget. It was something a bit unofficial, so there didn't need to be ticks med, and people couldn't complain about it from the right places. I mean, what the?
Why can it not be a mini budget? What was the beef with that?
It would have to be approved, wouldn't it?
It basically wasn't. Yeah, so it wasn't a proper red box budget. Effectively, it was a fiscal event or whatever they want to.
That's it.
Whatever they want to give it as a title, and it is it's a roll of the dice. I don't think anybody could describe it as anything other than a roll of the dice. They believe it'll help growth down the line. Others don't believe it will, and the reality of it is you just got to wait and see what happens.
So Leigh, our new Chancellor, Kwasi, I think he's Kwasi, was seen having a merry little sing-along to himself, right, in one of the back pews, right in the church.
At the funeral.
Yeah. A merry little sing-along. I mean, he seems to be really happy with what he did last week. He's talking about, that's nothing. Wait till you see what I've got planned in January. Is he all there?
Well, he's being interestingly portrayed in the media as not being all there, isn't he? And there's a lot of suggestions of maybe what's going on, what's he taking, what's he doing, but I mean, I don't believe for a second that somebody in that position doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, you've got to be understanding. You've got to be understanding of this that the announcement and what's been decided is it's not him. He's effectively the figurehead that's announcing it and talking about it. But there's teams of people behind the scenes that have decided this is the way to go. And he's the one that's out there that'll take all the plaudits if it works, and ultimately will fall on his sword if it doesn't.
Well, he just seems an interesting character. I mean, it was just hard to explain what was going on in the church, and I can see that my image has frozen. Maybe in respect as to this is how you should be in the back pew.
Exactly.
That type
as you
of
are,
event, you got to be very frozen, stoic. But there he was, sort of as well. I can't quite say what Simon said because then I could be liable for prison as well. But it did seem really, really strange.
Yeah, I think you can say cooked off his tits. I think you're okay.
Can we say that? Can we say that? Can we say Kwasi was cooked off his tits?
That's not what was said.
You can say
Simon. What he meant.
Simon said cooked off his tits. I don't even know what it means, but that's what he said.
I think we know what he means. And Natalie's a lawyer, so we can seek advice, right? If we need advice. But it was really.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Natalie's a lawyer, so she'll be telling us we shouldn't say that. No, what you're saying is
I've noticed that she hasn't said it,
and she'll get us out of it if we've made a problem. If we said something
Natalie is the APAT lawyer. Oh look, my image is unfrozen now. That's good.
Yes, you're back.
Listen, talking about being coked off his tits, Putin has threatened. I think he's actually gone and threatened a nuclear war now. Would that be fair to say? I mean, where is this going to end up, this one?
I think this is the beginning of the end for him. I think.
Oh, thank Christ you finished that with for him.
This is the beginning of the end for us all.
That's where I thought you were going to with that.
No. I think somebody said this to me the other day, and I think this is, I can't remember who it was who said it, but it's kind of easy to turn a blind eye to an extent to a conflict that your country's embroiled in when it's the military and it's your leaders and it's happening somewhere else. When you are drafting in civilians and you are making them go and fight, and you're saying, now we're expecting you to put your life on the line for this war that you didn't ask for, and the whole world is denounced as being shockingly bad, and we've now been alienated from the rest of civilization because of what our leaders done. I just don't think the Russian people will put up with it. I think this will be the start of a rebellion against his leadership. I think this might be the end.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because it seems like there's just streams of Russians trying to get out of Russia.
Yeah.
Sort of makes sense, really. Would
Yeah,
you want to
definitely.
go into the Ukraine and fight a war that I guess a lot of people probably understand it just isn't a war to be in. I wouldn't want to be doing that, I have to say.
No, I wouldn't.
Pretty bad situation. Simon is, however, trying to find the bright side, and he said that it might in fact be the solution to heating bills if we all fry.
It's been quite interesting as this particular war, isn't it? The invasion of Ukraine, because it's probably it's definitely the first time in our lifetimes. But this idea that you can weaponize fuel, Russia's retaliation against the UK for our defense of the Ukrainian government and its people is to plunge us into this energy crisis and having to pay extortionate, and cutting off people and putting them in poverty because they can't afford to pay their heating bills. And it's, like I say, weaponizing energy is an interesting. I mean, we talked a lot, didn't we, about cyber attacks and potentially terrorist attacks with chemicals, but this is something completely different. It's, you are as a country reliant on one other nation for all of your gas supply and their oil, and they just cut you off and make you not be able to afford it. Yeah. It's kind of terrifying.
It becomes a sort of an outlasting type game, and I guess Putin believes that Russians can outlast Western Europeans if we're talking about dropping a standard of living for a period of time. And he's quite
That's
possibly
probably
right.
fair.
We'll have to say it's probably a fair assumption.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Super interesting. Right, where are we going to go next? I mean, do we want to talk about football? Do we want to talk about football?
Do we have to?
Do we have to talk about football? To be honest, we're in the middle of a break, so I guess we probably don't. But it'd be a shame not to.
Of course we want to talk about football.
Absolutely right. So, look, I'm super sad with the way it's all working out for England because, there's a little part of me that really wanted to see them having a good World Cup. Not impossible. They could still have a good World Cup, right?
Not while Southgate's in charge.
You don't think so? Really?
No. He's not getting the best out of these players. He's not playing in the right position.
I don't see how they do at the moment. Where they're at the moment, you're supposed to be peaking for a World Cup and confident going into a World Cup. And I mean, they are in an absolute spiral. I've say it's quite dramatic, really, when you consider they did pretty much already got guaranteed their qualification before their great run in the Euros. But were they just punching above their weight in the Euros? Had a good draw, got through. Really, it's papering over the cracks of actually how good they really are. And all of a sudden now they've come up against some quality teams in the Nations League, and they seem just to have no idea what they're doing.
I think
he doesn't attack. He plays international football like a long season, and it's not. Every international football plays a different strategy. You have to win your games. You have to, with some exceptions, obviously, in group stages of knockouts, group stages of the finals. It's just the way he's playing. It's like there's no enthusiasm, there's no drive, there's no attacking threat, there doesn't seem to be a motive in the game. Nobody seems to know what they're doing, and it's really, really, really boring to watch. But it's not even. Now, listen, you're talking to somebody who watched 10 years of Daesh ball, and that was about as dull as you can get. But for large portions of that, it was effective. So you become results orientated, and you will accept a certain standard of play if it's needed to get a job done. But Southgate's got them doing neither. It's neither effective or entertaining, and I don't really know where we go from here. So for me, I think it's time for a change at the top. I don't think he's the right person at the moment.
But you couldn't do that before a World Cup, though, could you? I mean, clearly we're on top of the World Cup now. 2 months out. I mean, who would you put in charge of England?
Well, the problem we've got with England managers, and we've had this very same conversation on the APAT show before, is that you have always got a poor pool of managers to go for the England job, because all of the top managers are all earning a lot of money at club football, which is where they want to manage. So your pool of if England managers, it's always either those who aren't quite good enough for the top jobs or those who have been sacked and are out of work. And I think that is a problem that we have. I'm not against changing the manager before World Cup year. I don't see why not. I mean, I know it's a different game, and I know there'll be a few eye rolls when I make this comparison, but England put Serena Wiegmann in charge 9 months before the Euros, and she delivered the Euros. If you've got the right coach who comes in, doesn't matter how long they've got, they can deliver success.
But they're playing their last game. They're playing their last game on Monday. It's like then they're into the tournament, right? There's no other games. They're right on top of it. They're right on top of it.
Sorry. My brain hadn't quite gone. Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
They're literally right on top of it.
Yeah, you're right. No, we can't change
So if we step back from that, how would you change the team then? Because in theory, he should have enough in an England squad in terms of being able to score goals. I mean, they couldn't do anything other than score goals if you go back 6 months to a year to 2 years ago, scoring goals all over the place. What would you do to change it? Would you change the formation, the players? Would you do something crazy? Would you take Kane out? Would you get rid of Maguire? I mean, what would you do?
Kane's always been a problem for this England side. And how many generations of England teams have we seen where we've had to change shape or we've had to play a certain style of football to accommodate one star player who can't possibly be dropped? It's been England's Achilles heel for as long as I can remember now. And because he's the poster boy, because he's the captain, it's like, well, you can't drop Kane, even though there's been so many times where it's shown that dropping Kane has produced a better result, or that they've played with more freedom. And you put in other players in positions where they don't perform as well, or you are shackling their style of play or their what's what I'm looking for, their drive. I keep saying the word drive because I can't think of anything better. So I would have a go at dropping Kane. I don't see why not. If we are serious about wanting to bring a trophy home, why not?
Could you see Marcus Rashford taking on a role like that, Leigh?
Not yet. I don't think he's done enough. He's had a good start to the season, but I don't think he's in a position yet whereby he could step up to that. I'd like to see him in the squad. I think if he continues the next couple of weeks as he started this season, then no reason why you wouldn't have him in the squad. I think possibly though, Rashford and Sancho might have already missed the boat.
That's possible, I suppose.
Oh, really?
Well, I'd be very surprised if you look at the squad that's been picked for this group of games. It's a really hard push to say who would actually get into that World Cup squad that isn't in this squad already.
Yeah, you're right. I genuinely hadn't realised that this was the last game. I mean, to be fair, I've been sorry, my hair's getting on my nose. I'm trying to keep it out of my microphone. I've kind of lost a little bit of enthusiasm for the senior men's, and I've taken my eye off the ball a little bit, which is why I hadn't. And also as well, when we were laughing about putting a new manager in, my brain still hasn't remembered that it's a winter, that the Qatar's in the winter break. I keep thinking it's next summer. So I keep thinking we've got ages off. It's like, it's next year, it's fine.
Well, I mean, the reality of it is Southgate's not going to, he's going to keep with three at the back for whatever reason. It makes no sense because none of the major sides in England play that. None of the players that are playing for England play in a three, I don't think. Now Stones doesn't, does he? Walker doesn't. Maguire doesn't. Who else is going to be playing at the back there?
I don't think anybody does play in a three at the back.
I don't think anyone does. So it's really bizarre that he's doing that, and he does that, and then also plays a fairly defensive midfielder in Rice. Bellingham is then expected to get up and down the pitch, and to be honest, I still think actually if Phillips was actually fit, he'd probably play Phillips and Rice. In which case, you've then got two defensive midfielders.
This is a Southgate problem.
Yeah. You've then got a right wing back, which is either James or Alexander Arnold, neither of which actually play as a wing back, but actually both are more than capable of doing it. On the left, you then struggle because it's not Shaw's goal.
No.
So you're then looking at a Chilwell, or as he did against Italy, played Saka there, which is again feels unfair to Saka, who's just been voted for as England's player of the year or something for his performances, and he's then being thrown in, asked to play left back. in a game.
He's having a great season for Arsenal as well. See, this is the thing as well. It's like some of these players are doing so well for their clubs, and they've got happiness in their club football, and they're having really good seasons. And then Southgate comes out and says, "Oh, well, there's not enough players who play at the top levels for me to pick a squad from." But it's that you're still not getting the best out of the players that you have got. And Saka's a perfect example of that. Such a talent, having a fantastic season for Arsenal, and then put him in an England shirt out of position, and you're just completely, you're muting his ability, and you are just stopping him from being able to play with the freedom and with the talent that he's got. And I think that's on Southgate. That's on his head.
I mean, and there's a huge attacking talent that England have got. It's absolutely it's
one of the most best I've had in a long time.
I'm not sure whether they've got much strength in depth when it comes to a straight number 9.
Correct.
So somebody that could replace Kane. That's possibly lacking a little bit. But actually, the playing in the kind of the roles around that, I mean, it's just phenomenal, the amount of players that would be vying for those positions.
See, that's why I personally wouldn't rule England out yet. I think you're right. I think confidence is low, but I think Southgate has already shown that he can be a tournament type manager. You know, where actually not losing is almost as important as winning, almost. So I could see him building confidence in that team as they go along.
I mean, they should get out the group. I mean, they should be out the group comfortably. Well, and then you're down to a number of knockout games, and as we know, crikey, anything can happen in those. If you can get on a little bit of a run there, all of a sudden, you're looking good. I think it's the fact that it's the goals that they're conceding. They're basically leaking goals left, right, and centre. And weirdly, as a United fan, how better we've looked since Maguire's not been in the side.
True.
And I certainly don't want to go in and putting the boot into that guy in the slightest, because he's a quality. He is a quality player. His confidence is absolutely shot to pieces at the moment, and I don't quite see how he can start in that England side when he's not even looking like he's gonna. He's not getting into that United back line anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think he's done. To be honest, I think he's done. I wouldn't.
And he could well end up being our next Phil Jones that just sees out his contract and doesn't go. Phil Jones still wears the number 4 shirt for Man United.
Yeah.
Does he?
Extraordinary.
He's been moved out of the senior players' dressing room as well. I mean, he's so far down the pecking order now. He doesn't even have a bizarre stuff. I think this World Cup is going to be really interesting, because I can't ever remember a World Cup. I mean, where we're going to be watching games in the evening and it's going to be dark and wintry and everything. I think it's going to be brilliant. I think it's going to be an absolute fantastic World Cup. It's been held obviously in a very small country, so there's going to be very little traveling between games and stuff like that. So all of that drama disappears. I think it could be really, really interesting. I hope it works culturally over there, because we know that's going to be a hell of a challenge. But I think the potential is there that it could be a great World
What's
Cup.
really exciting in the games that have gone on this weekend, I think France, they were losing when I last looked tonight, but actually they looked really good on the weekend. Brazil are looking great. Argentina are looking great. There's plenty of teams out there that are really firing at the moment, and with players that are absolutely at their potentially at their peak of the game. I mean, it's going to be Messi's last World Cup. Mbappe is really starting to look like he's the one that's going to take on the mantle of possibly the best player in the world, off the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. It's obviously Ronaldo will still be playing when he's 50, because they were. I think he played for Portugal. He played for Portugal last night, and they didn't sub him off. They were 4-0 up. He played the full 90 minutes.
Well, he'll want to, won't he? I mean, and to be honest,
of course he wants to.
He needs the minutes as well. In fairness, But listen, talking about Ronaldo, we were talking about Harry Kane. Brendan's, he's absolutely nailed it here. In my opinion, the big football discussion is Erling Haaland. Painful as a United fan, but we're getting to see something really special. Can't argue with that. He is making light work of Premier League defenders, is he not?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's just, and of course he's in absolutely the worst team for everybody else, a City team that, can just create yards from nothing and put the ball into the right place. And he is just finishing for fun.
Yeah, and just destroying FPL hopes everywhere as well. For those people who didn't put him in the team right at the beginning. Me.
I can't remember. I think I've got him in my team along with Salah and Jesus, but you ought to see my defense.
Well, yeah, if you've got them three in your side, how did you manage to?
I have no idea.
Get the keeper's place for
I have no idea.
I have now put Haaland with him. I think I've got a ghost in my house. I keep.
The thing is, obviously, Haaland's not at the World Cup, so he's now going to get a mid-season break as well.
Oh, joy!
Which is, and it is a crazy. I know, we're talking about Premier League European teams, but I'm talking about what I'm saying they're about to have in October. Well, that's pretty much what I know. A lot of the league teams do play. They play, Tuesday, Saturday, pretty much week in, week out throughout the season. But I think United plays some ridiculous number of games between now and when the World Cup kicks off. Just trying to cram in all of the Europa League and Champions League games, and I think there's a Carabao Cup round getting thrown in there as well. And it's just absolutely insane. There isn't a spare time. So of course, the games that did get called off due to the time of national mourning, and then what went on with the police resources is going to really have a knock-on effect towards the end of the season. So how they're going to fit these games in?
They'll fit them in.
Already super tight.
Yeah, in COVID times, they had a huge amount of postponements to deal with, and they somehow managed to get through them all. It's going to be an interesting time, I think. Right, coming off of football for a minute, because I think, let's come off of football. Have we watched anything on TV, Netflix, anything interesting?
Yes.
Any nuggets for the guys? What's been happening over the last few weeks?
I've just finished season 1 of Only Murders in the Building, and the hype is real. It's absolutely spectacular, so I can very much recommend that.
What is that?
It is on, I think it might be on Disney Plus, actually. It is.
Oh yeah, go and pick the one. The one I've not got. Yeah.
So I'll pass you my login, Leigh. We'll sort this for you.
Goodness me.
It is. It's a comedy with Selena Gomez and Steve Martin and what's he called? The guy who was in that other movie that I don't know the name of. 1 second. Martin Short. That's it.
Oh yeah. Quickly on IMDb. Quickly checking it out. Yeah.
Only Murderers in the Building.
Only Murders in the Building.
Murders.
It's got. I think I read somewhere that it had 100% approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes, which
it's a comedy.
Yes, it's the premise of it is that it's 3 strangers who all live in an unrealistic apartment in Upper East Side of New York, and you never really know where they've got the money to do that, but never mind. And I think Steve Martin plays an old theatre producer who's got money from somewhere. Steve Martin is an ex-actor from like an 80s TV show that ran forever, so he's got money. And Selena Gomez is a Gen Z girl who's living in her aunt's flat and has got money from nowhere. But they're all true crime podcast fans. So if you imagine when we all got completely hooked on Serial, that's something we need to talk about. When we all got hooked on Serial, it's very much similar to that, and so they're all tuning in. It's not binging. They actually just gets 1 episode released every week, so they all tune in at the same time, and then they meet one night in a building thing, whatever, and an actual murder happens in their building, so they decide to do their own true crime podcast while trying to solve the murder that's gone on in that building, and it's hilarious, very, very, very funny. So I very much strongly recommend that. That is the cast is the chemistry between the 3 of them is really funny and really lovely. So
do you know you're mentioning Serial? Then
yes,
it's the second time this week it's been referenced in a conversation. The first time must have been something I was watching on the TV, and I can't think what it was. I didn't have a clue then what they were talking about, and I now know a little bit more because I looked it up. But again, we were all hooked on it. I haven't got a clue.
Not a clue. Never heard of it.
Oh, right.
Serial with an S.
Yeah, Serial. So
Well, I now know
Serial,
what it was about because I looked it up after somebody mentioned it first time. But it's funny how
yeah,
you've mentioned it
what's
again.
happened.
That's twice in a week that's been referenced.
It is completely responsible for the explosion of podcasts. Podcasts were doing all right; they were ticking along very well, and then Serial came along, and it's by Sarah Koenig, who is she used to be a crime reporter for the Baltimore Sun, and she now works for This American Life, just a media channel that does television and stuff like that. And she was literally in her work one day, and an email came through to her into her inbox from a lady called Rabia, who said, "Look, 15 years ago, however long it is, 12 years ago, you wrote a piece about a lawyer in America who was struck off for malpractice. Essentially, she was hiding client money, she was throwing cases to win money for appeals, and this lawyer now passed away, but she said, this lawyer defended my brother in a murder trial, and we think she threw the case to get more money for the appeal. Will you come and speak to me?" And it tells, so Sarah Koenig goes to meet Rabia, and she basically tells a story of her family friend who, at 17 years of age, is charged, tried, and convicted with the murder of his girlfriend, who is a Chinese immigrant American, and he's a Pakistan immigrant American in high school. And he confesses he never did it. And he was tried on cell tower technology, which was back in the 90s when mobile phones were first coming out. And so Serial is, she told the story one episode week by week. And then at the end of it, after about, I think it's about 12 weeks, she comes to a conclusion. But it's a real life, it's a real crime podcast. And if you think about the Game of Thrones water cooler moment, Serial season 1 was just that. And Adnan Syed, who is the kid who was tried in prison for it, he's now, like, literally people across the world know his story and know who he is, and writing letters in prison. And there has been a development. My cat is trying to come into the podcast, into the show. Go away. This is not about you.
It's now really bugging me as to what I watched this week that it first referenced it, and I can't for the life of me think.
Well, it'll be surely just the news, because something's happened this week in his case, and it's now
maybe
must be
the news. Yeah,
that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say what, just in case people want to go back and listen to it, although it's quite difficult not to get a spoiler. But something's happened in his case this week. So just because so many millions of people have watched that podcast, it's if you haven't and you enjoy podcasts, season 1 is terrific. It really, really is, and I very much recommend it. So I've done that's 2 recommendations from Bromley's bank now, so I'm retiring.
That is pretty good value for the night, I have to say, Natalie. How about you, Leigh? Been following anything? Seen anything new?
Well, obviously, everyone's kind of watching the new Game of Thrones and the new Lord of the Rings, and kind of comparing and contrast the two. But one thing that I've is back on, I think, the second season. Well, say second season of the new variation of it. Is Never Mind the Buzzcocks on really? Sky. And if you haven't watched the first, it's kind of a slightly new setup, but the first one back of this season, I cannot remember the last time I laughed out loud as much as I did watching this particular episode. Nile Rodgers is on this particular episode, and it is absolutely just crying with laughter with some of the stuff that they chat about and go on about. Proper good. So if you haven't, if you fancy just a proper cheer up and with all the rubbish that's going on in the world at the moment, catch Never Mind the Buzzcocks, because that was superb.
Yeah, I made a note of that one as well. So I've got one for you. Not as up, I have to say, not as up. Don't know if you've seen it yet, but it is Crossfire. I think it's on BBC. It's a mini drama, so three episodes.
Binged it last night.
Oh, you've seen the whole thing? What did you make of it, Leigh?
The whole thing last night. Really good. Yeah, really, really good.
So for anyone who hasn't seen it and who's interested in BBC dramas, it's about a bunch of people go off on a holiday to Spanish Island, I assume, of some sort. They're in this swanky hotel, and it effectively gets hit by, I guess, we could only describe them as terrorists of sort, right? And,
oh wow, really?
It's based on a story that I don't know if it's based specifically on the story, but something that we've heard happen in the not too distant past, where people just go into hotels with guns and start firing at.
Oh, that's horrific.
Those who are there. So Keely Hawes is in it. I've always liked her in that type of stuff.
Is that the woman from The Bodyguard?
Yes.
Oh,
I want to say
like
yes. I want to say yes to that, and she's pretty. Yeah, I mean, she had to act in this. There was a lot of acting going on. In little parts, the stories, it's just a little bit weak, maybe, but. They've done a great job. You could definitely binge it, as Leigh said. You could definitely binge it.
Yeah, it's on. It was on 3. It was due to be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and obviously with everything that went on Monday, they held it back and moved it to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday instead. So it's all on iPlayer if you for those of you that want to watch it. That No Limit Hold'em has concluded, and William Stevenson ended up picking up the win, which means Phil Huxley has finished second in both the No Limit Hold'em and the PLO tonight, which is an absolutely cracking performance. He's currently 6th of the remaining 13 players in the Turbo knockout. He's got a problem there though in that particular event. And that is that the current chip leader in that one is one Natalie Bromley.
No, quietly getting it done.
So
I
with
know there's only 13 of us left as well.
13 players remaining. So we're 2 off the money now. So we'll bring up Natalie's table, because also on that table is one Brendan Byrne.
Yeah.
Old
table.
stock.
So yeah, so they're both going strong. But well done to Phil Huxley. So he's going to pick up a ton of points for finishing second in both of those, and is still potential for a few more points from this event tonight as well. Well, I don't think it'll be enough. It's certainly going to be enough, I'd imagine, to get him in the top 5. Don't think it'll be enough to get him ahead of Richard Rudling Smith, but I will try and see if I can work out the numbers and crunch it and see if I can tell you whether it's doable or not. I don't think it will be.
Well, I tell you, we still have a bunch of people watching on Twitch. We have a bunch of people watching on YouTube. Some of you guys out there on Facebook, say hello, right? Say hello. We'll put your comment up on the screen. Is there anything you want us to talk about? Just let us know.
Are we allowed to talk about the Queen? Or is this
I
off
think
subject?
so. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. What did you want to say?
Put me on the spot. Oh, God, I was going to call that as well if he had to re-shipped there. I had pocket fours here, and I was going to call if this guy hadn't have.
Good spot to miss.
So that's a good spot.
You've learned your lesson. You've learned your lesson
Yeah.
about running into big
rushing.
pairs. Yeah.
I've been in London this week working. I got shipped down there because I needed to do something this week. So before I got my train home on Friday, I nipped down to one of the parks as well, and I went down to Buckingham Palace just while everything was being because I think they're starting to clean everything up, and because I think the period of royal mourning finishes tomorrow or today. So everything's going to have gone, but it was really sad. It was very serene. It was very quiet. It was very strange standing outside Buckingham Palace, and obviously the flag's still at half-mast anyway, but it was very weird. Since I was a kid, you've gone to Buckingham Palace and gone, is the Queen in? Is she in? She lives there. And just looking at it and thinking she's not in there, and she's never going to be in there again. And I don't know. I think I'm not blinded by this, and I am a royalist. I'm a big fan of the royal family, and I always have been. But that's not to say that I don't understand the arguments, and I don't understand the debate about getting rid of the monarchy completely. I understand the economic imbalance, and I'm very sympathetic of the economic imbalance. But I think, irrespective of the debates around the royal family and where we move on from here, not just in the United Kingdom, but across the Commonwealth as well, it's very hard not to have respect for a woman who dedicated literally her entire life to public service. Yeah. And she kept that promise. And I have a huge amount of respect for the dedication that she showed to us all. And yeah, it was just really sad. And I thought the funeral was really sad. I don't really know what kind of king Charles is going to make. I can't stop calling him Prince Charles. That's quite difficult to not call him Prince Charles. So I don't really know what kind of king he's going to be. I'm very excited about William and Kate moving up the ranks to the Prince and Princess of Wales. I think they're going to do very, very well.
What you would say about the king is he's going to have a significantly shorter reign. That is for sure. I mean, we could well be doing all of this again in another 20 years.
Do you think he'll abdicate?
No, I don't think he will. I think he will see it out for as long as he's able to see it out for. I think
he will if the public stay with the monarchy and they warm to him and they support him, then I think he'll stay on the throne.
Well, I think from day one of the Queen's passing, there was the charm offensive was dialed up to 11, and it was pretty much from then on, right, this is the way it's now going to be. And I don't see any reason why he won't see it through. But yeah, very much it is going to be a significantly shorter reign, and certainly in most of our lifetimes we'll be seeing something similar. Obviously, it won't be anything like as grand as what's come from a 70-year reign. I'm guessing 20 at the max, but it's probably wrong to be necessarily even speculating on something like that. Jen went up there on Monday. With a mum. They just both felt they wanted to be up there for the day. Didn't really see anything. Couldn't get anywhere position wise to see very much of anything, unfortunately, but just wanted to be up there for the day, listen to the service over the speakers in central London, and felt part of it, and didn't regret not going up for the day. But she literally said she saw the hearse going at a reasonable pace on the way out towards Windsor, and that was with about 20 odd people in front of her, and that was pretty much it. But she's glad she went, and I think those that all queued in the queue, as it's will forever be known. I don't think any of them regret the time spent to have that moment and be part of that and that experience. And I kind of get that. Not something I would choose to do, but I can get why people would want to do that, and fair play to them for doing it. Everybody takes what they want and gives what they want in that particular scenario, isn't it, really? And what I would say is I wasn't sure whether I was even going to watch it on Monday, whether I wanted to sit through it all, because to be honest, I kind of got a bit sick and fed up of it all by that point. It was kind of quite, there was so much media hype on it.
It was a long morning period.
I kind of switched the TV on at 9:30 on Monday. I was at home on my own with the dogs, and was going to do a bit of work and bits and pieces, and it was sort of on in the background, and before I knew it, it was 4:00 in the afternoon. And you'd kind of sat through it all, and you kind of go, wow.
I tell you, the previous Wednesday, we were sat down, sort of watching a bit of TV, Sean and I, and she's on her phone, and there's obviously stuff going on, and she turns to me at about 10:30 and she said, I'm going to go into London. I'm going to go to the queue. She's been on WhatsApp with her mates, right? And 5 of them have basically just got into a car at 11 p.m. on Wednesday night and gone straight. So she said to me, I said, look, Sean, obviously the morning and school and all of that. She said, we'll be back. The queue's at this sort of time. We'll be back. It won't be a problem. So in she went, was desperate to do it. And I said, yeah, go for it. And, I got a text at 6:00 on Thursday morning. We're about 40 minutes from the Abbey. Westminster Hall, 40 minutes. 6:00. Kids are up at 7. So I say, yeah, don't worry. Keep crack on. I'll work from home today. I'll bring them to school. Don't worry. Go for it. But three of her mates had to drop out. So they all dropped out at 6:00 and they all drove home. And herself the one remaining mate, they went, did it, absolutely delighted they did so. She arrived back at, I think it was probably, she arrived back at 10:30 on Thursday morning, having done a long queue, but just delighted that she'd done it. And, I have to say, obviously being Irish, monarchy wasn't a thing ever for the Irish, but I had a huge amount of respect for the Queen. She didn't seem to make any mistakes, and I think
Ooh.
well,
90s weren't
okay.
a good decade for her.
Well, yeah, perhaps, but she didn't seem to. I mean, okay, I'm not a studier of the history of it, but from what I saw, I mean, the steps that she took in coming back to Ireland, at the time Troubles finished and stuff like that, and trying to get that over the line, I thought was super helpful at the time. So very sad to see her go. And I think late in life, the skits with James Bond and Paddington and stuff like that just showed a really lovely side to her. She did come across as a proper gran. And, it seemed like, prime ministers could talk to her and be, and trust her with, whatever it is that they wanted to share and her insight and stuff like that. So fair play is what I would say. And, we had a board up over the summer, day trips and stuff that the kids wanted to do. And we just had a board of stuff. And of course, that was all wiped clean a week or two ago. But now sits Windsor on it. So,
Windsor, I've been to
because everybody's watched the funeral. And I think nobody, I mean, if you didn't have the Queen or if you didn't have a monarchy, Britain would not have been able to put on that show that it put on 2 weeks ago, which just, was immense from a pageantry and an organizational point of view. It just looked incredible. Granted, extremely expensive, but, there aren't any other countries in the world that could easily do, I think, what Britain did 2 weeks ago. And I would imagine there are a lot of people who want to come and visit London to spend some money over here, given what they've seen over the last few weeks. So, well,
there were people flying in for, wanting to be here for the queue and the funeral.
Absolutely right.
Did you see the Twitter thread that was highlighted and picked up by a lot of the nationals about the queue? She was just a regular person who decided to go with her mum. Yeah,
I read the thread.
That thread was incredible.
Yeah, fantastic.
I loved it. She really captured what it was like to be in the queue. And we should have been there. When I wasn't going to go down, and I didn't want to go and join I did want to join the queue, but just I couldn't do because of work and other commitments. But when I was there on Friday, Paul sent me down there actually, because he went on Monday and he said, you've got to go. It's really, really beautiful. And he'd called me from the place and FaceTime me with a few things as well, and said, look, just go down, you'll really like it. And the minute I spent that time there on Friday, I'd really, really wished I'd have gone a week earlier and gone to pay my respects, etc., etc. So yeah, that was it was just very lovely. I mean, I love London anyway. I'm a massive... Right, hang on a second. What the hell have you woken up with here, Brendan Byrne?
It's Natalie versus Brendan in this hand. Queen 9, Deuce, Queen. Brendan's bet 130,000, which is a little bit more than
a couple of spades out there as well, Leigh.
Yeah, that's just over half the pot actually, and Natalie's made the call, so it's an interesting river card.
Quite a few things could have come in there.
And is Brendan going to shove? So
obviously.
Well, I guess you can talk us through your hand, Natalie, because Brendan's committed.
Decisions.
5 Ormond is called. Bet the flop and is called. Bleh.
I think it's fair to say, Leigh, she doesn't like it.
No. Have you played much online with Brendan? Yeah, he doesn't tend to get that out of line, but he does also have a pretty spectacular bluff in his rating. It was a bad river. Yeah, get in the bin, Brendan.
Simon's advice for King Charles needs to invest in non-leaky pens. I think
that was very funny. That was very funny.
And one Mr. Lowe said, "I'll see you in the final."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think. I mean the all in the call. King 9 versus King 4, and avoiding a 4, which is done. So I think that is going to be we're comfortably in the money now, as we're down to 9. And I think we're probably one off final table now.
Yeah, I do like Daniel Law's chips. So, I think it's just, has it just happened, or have I just had a table move? What's going on here? What's going on here? I've got all sorts going on. I've got tables loading left, right, and centre. What are we on? Poker Stars? What's happening here? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I don't think Poker Stars has got tables loading. That's for sure.
No, that's very true. No, yeah, do come and make the final table, Daniel Law, because I do like your chips. They are some of my favourite chips.
Well, Dan's now eighth of the 9 remaining, so he was kind of in the top 2 for quite a.
He's all in here as well. I've got his table open. He's all in.
Dan's on the other table, which is also. Guys. Oh no, Phil Huxley actually has departed in 11th. I missed that.
What a run!
That's a great 3 cashes, 3 out of 4 cashes tonight is absolutely superb.
What a run! Listen, guys, we have a lot of negativity, about events tonight, but it hasn't all been bad in the last week or so. There was some good news. Our favourite, Mr. Trump. the FBI are attempting to take him down to Chinatown. Leigh, what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, the evidence is all there, and they keep finding more and more evidence. The guy just feels fairly bulletproof, though. I just think he's gonna come around. I still there's a bit of me that's like looking at my next political bet and thinking, I just think he could be back in the White House. I really do.
Oh, don't say that.
You're looking at all the options and the scenarios and going,
God, what is it with people jamming on me tonight?
It's really possible. As another jam on Natalie here on the.
Stop jamming into me.
It's a similar type board, isn't it? Really, but I'm guessing you're going to fold. I think. Let's see what you do. And there it goes, ladies and gentlemen. There it goes.
To go.
I'm getting bullied now, and I'm not having any of it.
Yeah, we're one off the final table. The trouble is because it's tightened up so much, and obviously it's a turbo, so you're down to sort of 20 bigs now, and the other stacks have got the ability to do exactly that. Brendan's done it, and now Gal's done it there, and make the shove on you. I can't work out whether Des is camera's frozen or whether he's
going to reconnect Leigh.
Whether he's just permanently grinning at something. I'm not sure what was going on there. Just watching Natalie, another hand of Brendan, who fires out another bet.
Oh, I nearly jammed the turn as well. It's hit the river. Sorry, I'm swearing.
You're right. You can get away with that. Yeah. But the fact is that talking about Trump, he is favourite.
No, he's not.
But yeah, he is favourite to win in 24. At the moment, to be honest, it's looking like it's the Republicans are favourites to take the White House in 24, and it's a bit of a coin flip between Trump and Ron DeSantis as to who actually would end up being their candidate and go on to take it. But at the moment he just is ahead. According to the bookies on that one.
I can't. I can't deal with another. I can't deal with another term of Trump. To be honest, I can't.
Well, I guess it depends whether they're looking to try and say get him sort of done up with all the evidence of all of this paperwork and legal stuff that he's supposedly been gathering outside of official residences and see what happens with it. But
what's he done? Did he See, this is the thing, though. It's like, is this not the very thing that they all like dragged Hillary Clinton down about having a non-secure server? But he's actually taken like what's it called, classified documents. To his house.
I'm not. We're not talking like one or two papers. We're talking filing cabinets of stuff, and not even in filing cabinets. Literally just strewn around his place, just absolutely just
But that's only
anyone
one of
to
the
do
things.
anyone to see, and more is coming out. It's it's not it's just kind of, I think that could well be, as Des says, the tip of the iceberg with it, really.
It's the fraud thing, isn't it? So on top of the top secret documents, they've now got him for overvaluing his properties and taking loans on the back of overvaluing the properties.
There's him and potentially two of the family, I think, or three of the family.
Three of the family, right?
Are potentially being done for that. Yeah, which is basically overvaluing their assets to allow them to gain finance. But again, they're the sort of things which
Mortgage fraud 101.
Yeah, you could, but can't you? They prove this, prove that. Well, it was valued at this. It was valued. At the end of the day, I'm not sure whether they'll do him for that. Although it could end up being a kind of Capone type thing, whereby that's what they end up getting him for. Is a bit of kind of financial fraud. That's what they end up And once he's gone for something, that kind of then that ends his political career, doesn't it? At that point.
Yeah, the only issue is you've got him and his family on the other end, sort of just saying, "Oh, it's politically motivated," and
yeah. Of course, that's what all of it's suggesting, isn't it? I mean, if they couldn't do him for inciting the crowd, with the storming the Capitol riots and stuff, and it doesn't look like they're going to get him for that, even though we all watched him pretty much as good as say, let's all go. It's difficult to know what they what more they're gonna do. I suppose it's okay. The problem is it's when he was in power, it's what we were saying then, is it's the kind of the scattergun approach of, if you throw enough shit about things, it gets to the point where people just go, oh, it's just Trump, isn't it? So it doesn't it's not, it's just Trump. And that's where you not become immune to it, but you become kind of like, well, it's just it's just what he does, so we all have a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. King on the river for Robert Arthur there gets his double up through Gabrielle. We're still I think we're still playing hand for hand. We're 8 left now. Lost Dan Lowe in
on
ninth.
the final table.
Lost Dan Lowe in 9th place, unfortunately, so he's just missed out on the final table, but made a decent cash.
Leigh, why aren't we on the final table? There's only 6, 7, 8 of us left.
Say, I assume it must be 7-handed for the final, to be honest.
It's 7 max. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So
probably should have picked up on that already.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be when you buy into these tournaments, it's always handy to have a look and see what it is you're playing. It's quite good, yeah.
Being met.
Yeah, but to be fair, you're doing okay considering you didn't even know how many people should be sat at the table. So it's surely that's affected your game plan, isn't it? Your calculations. With how many are sat at yeah, that's what's put you off, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
Robert Arthur wins another pot. He's gone from short stack in this tournament now up to 5th of the remaining 8. Ticking along nicely, but as I say, so I don't know whether you caught that, Des. I was just saying to Natalie,
yes.
But yeah, Trump is just favourite for 24. Biden is 3rd on that list. Biden's the
pointless president we've ever had.
But that's the interesting market, is actually the Democratic market, is to does Biden run? If he runs, they're not going to win with him, I don't think.
I don't think they can win without him.
So if he doesn't win, if he doesn't run, who does?
Are there any other runners been mentioned, Leigh?
Well, obviously
Strongly?
Harris is the obvious one, but she would only go for it if he wasn't going to run. Otherwise, she's going to obviously be his running mate. I would stick with him because I don't see her stabbing him in the back. If he chose not to, then she's the obvious contender. But you've said, Natalie, she's not.
She's done nothing.
She's
Hasn't
not
done
got.
anything.
Her ratings are. Her
Absolutely
ratings
nothing.
aren't great. She's not. She's not well liked in the States.
It's been
from-
really disappointing to break that glass ceiling and have the first ever female vice president in such a senior position, and for her to do absolutely nothing with it.
So here's the interesting ones. If I went down the Democratic nominee betting, so obviously Biden is favorite, Harris is second. I mean, I struggle to even know who the hell any of these other people are. Gavin Newsom. Anybody?
I thought he was a conservative.
Then you got Elizabeth Warren.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her. Wealthy.
Yeah. Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, sorry.
And then you get then you get onto Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's pretty much the list.
Wags.
Yeah,
Wags.
you think we go on about in the UK about how when we were talking about is it going to be Truss or is it going to be Rishi, and isn't it horrible that we've got the two we've got to choose, is being chosen from. But actually it's quite sad if you actually kind of look at it in the world, look at the world as a whole and go, who's got a good leader that you'd happy to have running your country at the moment? Which countries would you say, do you know what? I'd take their leader to run the UK.
New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
I think.
Would you? What about Canada?
I think that.
Would you?
Was it?
He's lost his gloss a little bit. Is it Trudeau? Is that how you pronounce it?
Trudeau. Yeah.
Justin Trudeau. He's lost it. He's been under some criticism. I don't think the Canadians are that chuffed with him recently.
Simon
but pretty much New Zealand and maybe Canada. There's not really many others you'd go with. Do you know what? They'd be a safe pair of hands.
Swedish or Finnish Prime Minister lady went out dancing? We'd have her, right? Showed a little bit of normality. I mean, that would be quite nice. Can we have a bit of that?
It is sweet, but she got absolutely slated.
Hammered,
unfairly. Totally unfairly.
I think more to the point, who'd want the job? I mean, that was my thinking, with the whole Liz Rishi thing. Who would want to be the UK Prime Minister at this particular moment in time? Your chances of getting it right, it feels slim. Your chances of absolutely screwing it up, quite large, I'd have thought. But, who would want that job? You have to say Michelle Obama would probably have something about her. I mean, I don't know, from an experience point of view, clearly, I don't know if it's enough to have been the wife of the president, but she comes across as being a strong sort of black woman. You just get a sense that actually she could be a real standard bearer in a way that the current VP is not. Right?
She made an interesting point, though, on one of the things when I was watching a documentary when they were coming to the last year of their second term, and one of the things that she was shouting about was that the policy in American politics where you can only serve 2 terms is right, just because by the time you've done 8 years and you are coming to the end of that 2 term, you have lost a lot of you're a bit out of touch with what happens in the real world. You have lost a lot of that, ability to, just keep your finger on the pulse with what's happening and what real people worry about. So I do wonder whether she spent too much of her life recently, whilst committed to the Democrats and public service, that she's just a little bit too detached now from it, and she wouldn't necessarily be able to bring in policy that she would want to. Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting point.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know to whom Simon Lawler is referring here, but he does go on to say she's more coked up than Quasi. He can't be talking about Michelle Obama. He can't be talking about Michelle Obama.
In answer to his question, is Beto on the list? He's referring to Beto
O'Rourke, right?
And Beto O'Rourke is 66-1.
So he came across as being reasonably sensible. I thought he could have made a run.
You can have
4 odd years
Bernie
ago.
Bernie Sanders is 66-1 as well.
Is Bernie still alive?
Interestingly, so this is how crazy this book is. Meghan Markle is 50-1. So Meghan Markle is shorter odds than Beto O'Rourke. So yeah, if you fancy go for that. So and of course, and then if you look at the Republican betting for their candidate, I mean that's obviously Trump is the favorite.
Oh, good lord.
it's that's what you've got. I mean, Trump is actually odds on to be the Republican nominee. Ron DeSantis is 2-1, so very close, to be honest. Ron DeSantis is good, but after that, you're right out at 10-1 for the third place person, which is Mike Pence. Well, there's no way in this world are they putting Mike Pence up.
See, Trump has been a genius because his style has made every other single, Republican politician look weak because they're all afraid of him. So nobody, has the guts to stand up to him in any way, shape, or form, and therefore they all look weak in comparison. It would have to take somebody from left field to come and take on Trump.
Well, you talk left field, so we could have a little bit of a show bet on this because there's a lovely pick at 50-1 for the Republican nominee, which is it's good. When you just heard who was at 66 on the other side, so 50-1 is good. One Kanye West. What do you think?
Oh my
sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus.
What do you reckon? Yeah. Make a run for it. He's going to give it a go. Yeah. It's
look, it wouldn't even make a good Netflix documentary.
but the point is that's where it is, isn't it? That we are sadly in a world where there's a serious shortfall in leaders.
Yeah.
Whether that's in political terms or even in business at the moment, that we really do lack leaders in the world, and it's difficult. And as you say, does who would want the job in the UK in the current climate? It's an absolute poison chalice, isn't it? And I think what's been announced this week is very much aimed at Labour will get in at the next general election, and they'll have to put the taxes up, and then probably they'll get to serve a term, and the Conservatives will then be rolled back into town again.
Yeah,
that's pretty much likely what's going to happen.
It's mad. What about Mr. Tesla? Are we going to see anybody? Zuckerberg? Are we going to see any social media or just mega celeb Kanye side take a spin?
Well, why? Because gone are the days where somebody would have a run at politics because it gave them power and influence. Those tech giants now get all the power and influence that they want in what they're doing. So unless their ego says, I really want to be in the White House, like Trump.
Yeah, but come on, wouldn't you want a big sort of basement full of files and all sorts?
But I think to
find out if they're aliens, Lee. There might be aliens.
But I think for the likes of Zuckerberg and what, I don't think he's got that interest. I don't think there's a need to do that. I think he's got all the influence and money and power that he probably wants. Those guys do. What more can they have as president, really?
If they have, well, that's the problem that Trump found, wasn't he, when he went into office?
Couldn't actually do anything.
Couldn't do anything. And that's why, that's why everything went as bad as it did, because he was an absolute egomaniac who thought that being the president was the pinnacle.
But actually, go back and say, well, who was the last US president that actually was able to make serious change for the better? Because Obama got blocked on pretty much most things that he did. And when anything he did get through, they then basically,
reversed it straight away.
Back out. So when was the last time someone came in and actually was able to really make a difference, and everyone went, oh, do you know what? They're great. They're really, they're looking after everybody. Everything's spun. And as you say, Des, everything's political these days. You don't get anything through.
I guess George Bush before him as well was completely, he was a wartime president. His entire administration was then focused on the war. After 9/11, so he didn't really have anything other than that. I mean,
you'd say in the UK, Blair was probably the last one, and then he probably tarnished it with Iraq. But actually,
I
think he did. I think he did.
I think we can say he did.
But Blair in his early years felt like a breath of fresh air in the country, and there was a real wave of positivity about everything that was being done, and I think the vast majority of people were behind what it was. It went horribly wrong, but actually there was a period where you went, okay. But since then in the UK, I'm not convinced you'd say any of the leaders has had kind of a majority of good feeling from the public that actually, yes, we'll get behind this person. They're doing good for our country. It's now just well, what are they, who are their mates? What contracts are they giving away? Where's all the money going? And that's where it seems to be now. It's just permanent. It's very sad, really.
It is indeed. And I think that's my reference to the Queen not having made too many mistakes, and she might have made a few, but it's to say, she just didn't get locked up in that many
you are getting in some absolute spots on these this final two. We're on the final table now, so we're down to the final 7, and John Lawrence has shoved under the gun for 153,000.
I think I have to call. It's 5 big blinds. It's 4 big blinds.
It's about just over half of Natalie's stack.
I have to call. Nah, oh well. Oh, heart. Ooh.
Oh, nearly.
I didn't want to call. I've kind of got it. There's a bounty in play. It's 4 big blinds, and it's I've only got 10 big blinds myself. No, not even that. How many did I have? 9 big blinds.
7. You had 8 bigs, didn't you?
Yeah,
8 point something. Yeah.
Okay, you can have the rest of them. Here we go.
In the go.
Here we go, guys.
Give them me back. Give them me back.
I don't think he will. You imagine if he was going to, it would have been a fairly. He's just won.
He might be in the same position where he might be like, I feel like I've got to call here because there's a bounty in play and it's only 4 big blinds. I think this might be. Here we are.
He does.
Come on. Give me a break. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Look at that. So I call with the worst hand and the best hand wins, and I shove and get called with the best hand, and fine, whatever.
Boo.
Well, not meant to be.
That's the pokers. That is the pokers.
And it's a second final table of the night for Mrs. Bromley. Very
well done,
nice
Natalie.
Indeed.
Thanks.
Very, very impressive. And bear in mind, you were playing all of that whilst I was telling you Trump's going to be in power in another few years. So to be fair, you did pretty well considering the pressure that you were under there.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm just talking about doom and gloom of the world in general. So
I mean, I don't think there's anything else worldwide that we can talk about other than doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But that's a sad thing. Jen and I were chatting today about it, and it's quite sad that actually that is how you seem to. It seems to be that your life gets filled at the moment talking about negative things, and it'd be nice to actually talk about some positive stuff. And there are good things going on in the world. I mean, take your everything you did at Goliath, and the collections and the what you've done items. I mean, just talk us through, because that was again beyond your wildest dreams of what people would actually donate, and I know whenever you go and do an event with Hearts of Queens, you're always concerned, will anyone turn up, will anyone do anything, and then lo and behold, on the day of it, what happens?
Yeah, it was a really good event, actually. So I think it's probably worth caveating all of this conversation with my very strong feeling of this is that any charitable initiative that you take on or any project that you take on is only ever as successful as the very generous people who donate and the people who have a platform who then also help you to spread the word as well. This is not a success of mine. It's a success of the poker community who have bought into what we thought we would do and have given money, resources. Leigh, yourself, you designed our logo, which we have. I'm modeling tonight. It's not that
honestly, it was just something I knocked up in 5 minutes.
It really wasn't. I know it wasn't. So, this has been a successful initiative because of the people who've bought into it. And so bearing in mind that, gosh, I was on this show in International Women's Day in March, so we're now 6 months into this.
Yeah.
We have held events at, let me run through them: Manchester, Glasgow, Dublin, Blackpool, Nottingham, Vegas, Coventry. So we've done 7.
That is insane.
We have collected, I think we've probably donated about, these are rough figures because I'm a little behind with admin at the moment, so I need to fill in my spreadsheets that I've got all this recorded. I think we've donated about between 11 and 13 big bags full of goods to various charities, food banks, shelters, etc. We have collected, I think, in cash donations about, I'm going to say about, and again, I haven't got the final figures on my spreadsheet, it's about £1,100, I think, in cash donations that have been split across different initiatives throughout each of the cities. And we have sponsored 6 women for one night in a Dublin shelter, which is an overnight care package and access to legal. So we've done all of that in 6 months.
That's
and
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still a tiny little Facebook group that, and we rely on the word of mouth, and we rely on people. Some events are easier than others. Some are much easier than others. Goliath was fantastic because Grosvenor we couldn't do anything with Grosvenor like Goliath overall because it clashed with one of their own charitable initiatives that they had, but they gave Katie the autonomy in the women's event, because that was her event that she was hosting, to do something alongside that. So we ended up being aligned to the ladies championship, the Goliath ladies championship, and women just came up in their numbers, and Katie gave me access to the Facebook group of Grosvenor's women's group and WhatsApp group that had been set up, and she very kindly let me post on there. We had she was really cute actually. She came with a great big box that she decorated for us and stuck a sticker on the outside of it so we could put it on stage, and people who couldn't find me or didn't know where I was could put things on the stage. And I couldn't fit any more in my boot, so it's still here at the moment. So we got so much that we had to bring it back from Coventry to here, sort through it, because, and poker players understand this, that you've got to be effective in your giving. You've got to spend the money wisely. You've got to give the goods to places where they can be better used. You can't just rack up and just throw things at people, because you might take to one shelter nappies and they don't need nappies, but they desperately need shampoo, but you've given your shampoo to somebody else. So we do work with the organisations and we ask them what they need. And Coventry was so big. We had 2 boots full of, my car and Adam's car were both full. We had to bring them back, and I literally had to spend an afternoon sorting through everything. And something Caroline Cove came up with a great idea, actually. And I was looking through one of the bags that we had, and there were these 3 boxes, and I didn't know what they were. And what she'd done is she'd put emergency packs together. So she'd bought 3 boxes that could be used for storage afterwards. And in them, she'd made up these boxes. So you could just give them to the shelters, and they could just be given to the women on night 1 that they're in the shelter, and it's this idea that if you think about, if you had to leave home and go and stay in a shelter and you had nothing, you would just the clothes you were stood up in, what would you need? And she put in basic toiletries, little sweets, because obviously with the adrenaline and the upset, just a little bit of sugar in you, a notepad and pencil just to write down vital bits of telephone numbers and information that you need. Where are you? Or sometimes just a diary. And she made 3 identical ones, and that really took off. So then halfway through Goliath week, a couple of other women had spotted that and said, I really like that idea, I'm going to do the same. So that might be something that we look at in year 2, actually. When we get this year out of the way, when we move into 2023, we might look at maybe creating a Hearts of Queens care package. So when we say to people, this is what, either put them together yourself or we will put them together. So I need to go back to Coventry, and the 2 charities that we are supporting in Coventry, one is just a women's centre for domestic violence, who do a brilliant job. But the second charity which we're working with in Coventry is for the BAME community, and we haven't represented them yet in any of our initiatives. And I'm very conscious of making sure that we cover all charities, all backgrounds, all communities, and we cover as many bases as we can. So we haven't yet done anything for the LGBTQ community, and we haven't yet done anything for the BAME community. So Coventry we've got a cash donation to send to them, and they work purely within the BAME community. So I think that's exciting. And then can we talk about maybe I should have asked this before we went on air. I'm conscious that I've not run this past you two yet, but I've kind of told Leigh about it and said we want to do this.
Yeah, talk about it.
Can we talk about this? Okay.
Yeah,
So, at Goliath, the absolute king that is Dan Houston came to see me, and we were made an introduction to each other, which was amazing because we unbelievably not met. I don't really know how that happened.
Really?
And
Wow.
we've never met.
We've kept you apart for as long as we possibly can.
Over. We're together now.
Yeah.
And he was up in Coventry and he came to meet me and we sat down and we had a chat, and he really wants to do something as well. And so he's donated a prize for
trainers, right?
Yes, trainers.
He mentioned it on a show.
Did he?
He did.
Okay. I didn't know what he'd done.
Did.
Yeah. So he's donating some trainers for a raffle prize. And what we're looking at doing is potentially doing a Hearts of Queens Christmas appeal, which we're going to run through in collaboration with APAT.
Great.
So we're going to have first prize it'll be raffle tickets. We will do first prize will be Dan's trainers. Second prize will be a Hearts of Queens hoodie, and third prize will be something like a mug or something like. There'll be 3 prizes just in time for Christmas. We will pick a national charity to donate the funds to. And we're probably going to draw it probably at the Squads event in Nottingham, I think is the plan. I think that's November. So somebody, one lucky APAT player will, if they buy, and I think what Dan said is that for every X amount that you donate, so if it's, I think it might be £1 or something. So if you donated a 5, you'd get 5 raffle tickets, and it's done randomly. I don't really know. And we're just going to do a Christmas appeal.
Awesome.
So that doesn't need to be city specific. It doesn't need to be anything other than just a really great appeal. And that'll probably be our last event now for the year. Although I am going to Ireland next week. I'm going over to Killarney for the IPT, so I might look at doing something there, but it might just be a little bit too much of a stretch. But yeah, we're going to do a Christmas appeal with APAT.
Oh, I thought, look, that's super exciting. And, hopefully we can do a super video, live stream, whatever. We now have button functionality whereby you can have a donate button on the screen and people can push it and actually send a donation in. So that could be brilliant.
We're using that for the Ferraris, yeah?
Don't tell her about the Ferraris, Leigh.
Ferrari fund, yeah.
Not a Ferrari.
You know the way this stuff works.
Fund, yeah?
This is our big opportunity here, okay?
I'm not funny. Yes, but since 2006, everyone said that we're getting Ferraris if we work for APAT. I read it somewhere. I read it on Blonde Poker. I know it's true. So I definitely read it. Yeah.
Oh, listen, Ferraris aside. Look, Natalie, you are to be commended here. And I thought your interview with the lads this morning that we've already referenced earlier in the show, Dara and Mr. Lappin, I think just spoke beautifully to the fact that you recognize that this can't be, because you don't have the time to make this the biggest thing in the world overnight. You recognize that, right? You know it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's absolutely part of your vision. So I think to have that patience and to be producing the results that you are producing at this early stage is nothing short of incredible. So big up to you. And I see your old pal Paul is out there, and he is saying similar, here we go again. It's not my success, right? That type of stuff. Natalie's put her heart and soul into this. It's been a huge success already. And although she's not in it for the credit, no one deserves it more than you. So you should absolutely get the credit. But I know in your heart of hearts,
Roger's going to get shouted out for that afterwards.
Well, and you know what? That's fine, because he's a good supporter. But I know in your heart of hearts, what you want is those women to have those care packages, right? And every one that does is an incredible success.
Yeah, exactly. Any one of us could be in this position, and any one of your friends, your family, people your neighbour, or perfect strangers, anybody can find themselves. And with economic hardship getting worse and worse in the UK, this is only going to get. And I think we're all having to tighten our belts, and everybody's going to have to. Everybody's going to have a period of some hardship, but we've just got to keep our heads in the game here and recognize that if you can afford to spend money playing poker, you're doing all right. And so let's just keep our heads, on it a little bit and just say, it'd be really great if we could just spread that about, because people really, really need it.
Fantastic. So do we have a date yet? Do we have even a little window set aside for the, what are we going to call it? The telethon? What are we going to call it?
I need to, poor Dan, I haven't got back to him just because I've had a bit of a shock this past couple of weeks. This week, I'm going to touch base with Dan and just and I'm going to speak to Leigh as well about the merchandise that we do for second and third prize. And I will look to get, by next weekend, maybe I'm going to take my laptop across to Ireland. Maybe when I'm in Ireland and I've got a bit of downtime, I'm having a holiday. I've got a beautiful hotel on the lake in Killarney. I'm just going to hide for a few days because I feel like I need it, and play a bit of poker. And I'll hope to get some comms through via Leigh shortly, because it would be really great. APAT's just been a huge supporter, but we've not yet done something at an APAT event, and we're probably not going to be able to. And actually, to be fair, a lot of the APAT players have already supported other events, so the APAT community is brilliant for this. And I've got a lot of friends now who I've met through APAT. So I think the Christmas appeal in association with APAT is just a really good thing. So I'll get some stuff together. But it's one of these where I'm a little bit behind with admin, so I want to get the Coventry stuff distributed, and I want to go and speak to charities before I move on to the next thing, because it's amazing how, if you don't keep yourself super organised, how you can fall behind with things. So I want to get that distributed first.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, listen, it sounds super exciting. Can't wait to be involved in whatever small way I can.
Thank you.
And honestly, that's something to look forward to.
And let's not forget, as Simon quite beautifully points out there, I've designed that whole logo so that if this all starts falling apart, we can just go and sell ice creams for money. I mean, it's not a problem. We can raise a bit of money.
Honestly, it's not even funny. Leigh, where did you get this logo?
It's not a problem.
That's right. It's Mr. Whippy accrual.
Yeah, it's not an issue at all.
Honestly, the amount of people that have said this to me, Leigh, I think you might need to have a conversation at some point where we might.
To be fair, when we were doing the logo design, we did discuss it. And
did we? I don't remember that.
Yeah. We did. It did get discussed to say it's a little bit like the Walls kind of logo, but it's obviously it's hearts. So, and it kind of works. It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No, it is fine. It'll be fine. You know what? And if they sue us, we'll just change it. They're not going to sue a charity. That's a terrible place.
Too right.
We'll be okay. Yeah.
There we go.
But interesting. Simon does also say, I wish I could run as hot as Brendan Byrne. And
oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and he has run golden, although he's now come up against John Lawrence, who's actually won a few chips back, and they're fairly even on chips now. Blinds are at 25,000, 50,000 here. So although they've got over 1.5 million in chips each, it's only 30 bigs or so. So it's not going to take very long to see this go. But Brendan has absolutely smashed this final table. Really, really has. As we're playing down to conclusion. What I can tell you is the result of this now, whether it's John or Brendan that does win that, it's not going to affect the top of the leaderboard ladders for the week. So I can confirm, as I said at the start of the show, I didn't think Richard Rudling-Smith would get caught. And although Phil Huxley had a cracking effort tonight with 3 cashes, it is Richard who's going to do. That's 3 in a row.
It's impressive.
Richard
Well done,
Rudling-Smith
Richard.
has done, which is absolutely phenomenal. So he's going to win triple tickets. He's on. What's he on? He's on $22 tickets, Des. So we're okay. We can afford that. That'll be all right. Not a problem. Dylan Herbert finishes in second, which means I'll probably get a message some point this week saying when are the tickets going in, because Dylan's one for he likes prompt service, does Dylan. Yeah,
amen.
With that.
Amen.
Yeah.
And we like giving it, Leigh.
Yeah, and what I will say for Phil Huxley, we're very impressed with your result this week. You finished 3rd on the leaderboard. What that's actually done is it's knocked a step 4er down into 6th place, so we don't have to pay double tickets. So poor Andre Tin from Kazakhstan. Yeah, Andre, who we absolutely love on the show and regular player with APAT. He's been done out of double tickets due to Phil Huxley's run tonight. So what can I say?
Outrageous.
And it looks like Brendan is going to finish in the top 5 as well. He's working his way back up the steps as well. So well done to him. Other than that, Des, it's all 1s and 2s in the top 20, my friend.
Days, Leigh.
I feel we've got. You can put food on the table for those kids again.
That's another week in the books, Leigh. Another week.
We'll be fine. I think we're gonna get away with that. It'll be all right. So it's the away we go. Oh, well, unfortunately, we're 5 to the hour, and the guys haven't finished this out, so this is going to actually play out to a conclusion.
Come on,
Sweet
guys.
Jesus, Leigh. What we'll do is we'll run the close down sequence, and then
I
we'll
was gonna
just
say,
wait on at the end of it.
Well, to be honest, you can wrap this up, because I know we know where the situation is. Brendan's going to be in the top 5, whether he finishes first or second in here. We know who's won it, so we can probably call it a night and not let this run in past midnight. We all turn into something, don't we, if it goes past midnight? So yeah.
Okay, well, there's an invite that we can't possibly turn down, Natalie, right? So we're going to draw it to a close. Good luck to the guys as they complete their heads-up battle to win the last event of the week. It all starts again tomorrow evening, Leigh. Am I right? Starts again.
That is right. We're back again with week
no bank holidays tomorrow.
With week 75.
Sweet
believe?
Jesus.
Wow.
Sweet Jesus. 75 weeks in this year. Absolutely insane. Leigh and I will be back again next Sunday night. We're planning to do a show twice in a row.
We're doing a show.
We're going to do it twice in a row, consecutive shows.
Yeah, I don't know who the guest is going to be yet, but
Detail.
just remember, we are planning on having a call from Mr. Wigglesworth live from Vegas.
Oh,
Yes.
amazing.
So that's the plan anyway. So.
That is good. Okay, well, all that's left is to say big thank you to Natalie for spending the evening with us, cashing a couple of comps, telling us about Hearts of Queens, bringing us up to speed, and a lot of exciting stuff about to happen there. Leigh, Natalie, have a great week, and we shall catch up towards the end of it. Night, guys.
I'm not going to have a ton of bluffs, so I definitely need to size down. When you have very little bluffs, you want to size down because you can fit in all of your bluffs with your value range comfortably without a big bet size.
I had been banding about in my mind over creating a really long form vlog for this World Series.
We have a Bundesliga professional footballer in there. I'm not going to say any more, but he plays in the Bundesliga.
I mean, the last tournament I played was the £1 million buy-in that in London. And,
It's about looking at the data and the stats.
Okay, so there's a guy who aspires to be a fighter pilot, right? But he has this one issue. His thumb is stuck pointing straight up.
Influencers are doing the exact same, with the exception of exactly the vloggers. And look at what they've managed to accomplish.